These 5 habits aren't sexy and won't go viral. Most guys chasing 15% body fat are looking for the thing they haven't tried yet. The fast plan, the easy protocol, the quick fix. But there isn't one. After coaching men through this for years, these same 5 habits show up every single time someone breaks through. So you're already training, you're eating well, but you're still stuck at 20% body fat or above. This is probably what you are missing. The thing that actually separates the guys who get to 15% body fat from the ones who don't isn't what you would expect. It's not about the best program, peptides, some biohacking protocol, or even genetics. Consider this. The pilot of an Airbus doesn't fly the plane manually the entire flight. Once they're cruising, most of the journey runs on autopilot. Boring, no dramas. The pilot's job is to set the system and let it run and make small corrections if something drifts off course. Now, most guys do the complete opposite when trying to lose belly fat. They grab the controls constantly, they're going hard for 3 weeks, then they're burning out, and then they disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they restart, and when the motivation comes back, going hard, burning out, all that. And somewhere in that cycle, the thought creeps in, maybe I'm just not someone who can do this consistently. But the reality is, most of the actual fat loss doesn't happen in the weeks that you're all fired up. It happens in the boring, middle, flat, monotonous weeks where nothing feels like it's really changing, but you're showing up anyway. The guy who gets from 15% and below stopped waiting to feel motivated to do what actually works. And they stopped changing things every time life got a little bit stressful or if the scale didn't move. Not a heroic effort, right? Just consistency. Because if you can't do that, nothing else is going to work. And this next habit is what keeps you anchored when those flat weeks hit so that you stop feeling the urge to grab and change the controls. Something I've noticed even with intelligent, successful guys who struggle to consistently lose fat is that they only step on the scale when they think the news is going to be good, like after a super clean week or a big training or cardio day, or when their clothes are feeling a little bit looser. And when the number doesn't make them happy, then they quietly avoid it for another 10 days or 2 weeks. And that is exactly what kills the first habit we just talked about. You wouldn't only look at your business or your finances only when you felt confident about them. Yet that is exactly what most guys do with their body, and they wonder why it's so hard to be consistent. But every time you do step on the scale and you take your waist measurement and you snap a progress photo, you're not just collecting a little bit of data. You're actually casting a vote for the man that you are becoming. You're affirming through your action that I am someone who faces reality and adjusts and keeps going. Not someone who hides behind the truth and, until it feels safe, I don't want to look at the number. And that is the identity shift that separates the guys who get lean and the guys who are always getting stuck, right? The habit is simple. Every morning, same time, after the bathroom, before you eat food, step on the scale, log it, and move on, right? No reaction, no celebration, no spiraling off into a doom loop. Just one data point. And then every 2 weeks or so, with the same lighting, you want to take a progress photo and do your waist measurement. That is your real scorecard, because one number tells you practically nothing, right? But 14 numbers tells you exactly where you are trending. And the photo that you didn't want to take is usually the one that shows you actually what is working. The scale will bounce around due to water, sodium, food, sleep, stress, whatever the hell. That is normal, right? You're not reading a single number, and the trends do not lie. But the data only works if what you're putting in is accurate, which is exactly why you need to install this next habit we're going to talk about. Most guys don't realize why their nutrition falls apart, yet they think it's all about discipline, but it's a decision problem. By the time lunch rolls around, you've already made hundreds of decisions, emails, meetings, problems to solve, people to manage, and your decision-making capacity isn't unlimited, right? And food is the last thing on your mind until suddenly you're starving and you're just grabbing whatever is convenient on the go. That's not a weakness. That's just how the brain works. And when you leave the most important nutritional decision of the day to the worst possible moment. So this is why pre-logging your meals the night before flips this whole thing. You can use MyFitnessPal, you can use AI, a notepad, a whiteboard, I really don't care, use anything. You make the decision once and when you're calm and thinking clearly, not when you're hungry and rushed. The next day, then you're not deciding what to eat. You're just executing a plan that you've already created. And it takes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and it removes all the guesswork. And here's where it gets even simpler. You want to stop rotating through different meals every single day, trying to keep things fun and interesting. The guys who get to 15% or less eat the same 4 to 6 meals on repeat week to week. So breakfast is typically the same, lunch is 2 to 3 options, and dinner could be 4 or 5 things on rotation. Boring? Yeah, maybe. But here's what happens over time. You know those meals, you know exactly what is in them and how they make you feel and how they fit into your budget. So you can't bullshit yourself anymore because the numbers are not some mystery and you're not saying, oh, I'm eating healthy. No, you actually know what you're eating. And this doesn't mean eating chicken and broccoli every single night. I'm talking about business lunches, work, drinks, family dinners, etc. You need to factor those in. That is the whole point. Nothing derails you because you have actually accounted for it. And when the day is already mapped out, this next thing stops happening. I'm talking about the late night snacking, standing at the fridge, telling yourself, oh, I'll just have something small. And that's not all about willpower. That is a chain reaction of the day where your hunger just keeps building up. There was no structure that was followed. Stress takes over, and at 9 p.m., the fridge is the only decision you had left in you. So pre-log your food the night before. Repeat what works, and that chain reaction stops breaking before it starts. And if you're thinking, I know I need a system, but I just can't stick at it on my own, I don't have the accountability, well, that is exactly what my one-to-one coaching is built for. Links in the description. However, knowing what goes in is only half the equation. The next habit is about making sure you're managing what is going out. When most guys hit a plateau, they do one of 2 things. They either add more gym sessions or they cut more carbs. Now, both are going to feel correct, but neither actually fixes the long-term problem. Here's what's really happening. One workout might burn 150 to 300 calories, and cutting carbs is going to drop water weight quickly and a little bit of calories, which feels like progress, but the fat is still there. It's kind of like if you squeeze a sponge, well, the water fills back up the moment the carbs come back in. So guys who break through the plateaus aren't adding more workouts, they're leaking fewer calories through small daily decisions and moving more consistently throughout the entire day without forcing in these huge cardio sessions that are hard to stick to when you're super busy. This is why good old walking is the most underrated fat loss tool. It doesn't spike your hunger like intense cycling or running does. And it doesn't disrupt your recovery like adding more and more workouts will do. It just quietly adds 2, 3, maybe 400 extra calories of burn in the background while you're taking a call, walking to a meeting, going to get a coffee, taking the stairs, getting outside for lunch, kicking the soccer ball, take dog for a walk, whatever it is, anything you can come up with, mowing the lawn, washing the car. What's also interesting is this 2022 study on activity snacks found that breaking up long periods of sitting with short walks improved how efficiently your body uses protein to build and maintain muscle. Not by a small amount either. So in my 10 years of coaching, I've found that no matter your age, for consistent fat loss, 8,000 steps is a non-negotiable if you want to be breaking plateaus and make it sustainable. 10,000 steps is better if you want to have less stress on your diet, and then 12 to 13,000 steps is optimal. But here's an interesting side note from that same study I just mentioned. Doing 10 to 20 bodyweight squats every 45 minutes produced a similar muscle protein synthesis benefit to short bouts of walking. It's not the same calorie burn, but if you're stuck in like back-to-back meetings all day and you can't get outside, you can't walk around the office, well then 1 to 2 minutes of squats at your desk is still doing something useful for your muscle mass and for the insulin response, especially after eating a meal. Put that on a sticky note on your PC or your head, whatever. That's the movement side handled. Now here's the nutrition adjustment that most guys completely overlook. And the keto and carnivore warriors aren't going to like this. Most guys go straight for carbs when they want to rapidly lose weight. The problem is, carbs keep you fuller. They fuel your workouts, and they typically are part of your social life. The biggest diet optimization I made in my own cut phase wasn't starving myself of carbs. It was actually to trim the fats, because 1 tablespoon of olive oil is 120 calories. A teaspoon is about 40, and 2 little sprays is about 10, right? So same oil, and you won't taste the difference, but that reduction alone could save you 80 to 110 calories every single time you cook. Nuts, sauces, dressings, butter, and cheeses are where the calories hide in meals that look healthy. And sure, you're not eating badly, but you're also not paying attention to the dense stuff that is hidden in foods. And most people say,
yeah, but Zach, fat is healthy. You're wrong.
But if you're over 20% body fat, then smashing more fats isn't going to make you healthy and lean, mate. Your body only needs roughly 0.5 gram to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight per day to function properly from fats. For an 85 to 90 kilogram guy or 185, 200 pound man, there's approximately 45 to 90 grams of fat per day, which could easily be covered in 2 eggs, a piece of salmon, and a little bit of olive oil to cook with across the entire day. You don't need whole knobs of butter in your coffee or an entire tomahawk steak to yourself for breakfast. Trim the fat portions down to a healthy level and combine it with consistent daily movement, and you've potentially created an extra 300 to 500 increase in your deficit without feeling starved or weak in the gym. It's not sexy, but it's the detail required to make getting ripped sustainable to that 15% envelope. And once you have that working, the final habit is what ties all this together, and it makes sure that it actually happens every single week and month. And the guys who skip that last habit are the ones who still stay stuck at the same body fat percentage 12 months from now. Most guys don't fail at fat loss randomly during the week. They fail on the Sunday night prior to the next week. Now, you wouldn't walk into the office Monday morning without knowing what is happening in your calendar. No meeting scheduled, no priorities set, just winging it and hoping for the best. Yet that's exactly how most guys treat their most important asset they have, their entire body. 20 minutes on a Sunday, or even less than that, is all it takes to set your week's default up, to look at your calendar and find out where are the hectic days, where are your back-to-back meetings, where lunch will be grabbed on the run if you don't decide now. It could be the Wednesday night client dinner, the Friday night work drinks. Those are the high risk moments. So you want to identify them before they identify you. Check with the missus or family what's on for dinner this week, what can we all agree on? Factor it in. If date night is on Friday, account for it on Thursday. Pick your 3 training days, put them in the calendar like an appointment, not I'll train when I get the chance or I'll see what happens. Actual time blocks, because the weeks that feel too busy to train are exactly the weeks you need it most. And they're also the weeks where an unscheduled workout just isn't gonna happen. So have a plan B ready for the days that could potentially blow up. A 30-minute home session, a walk before or after lunch or dinner, something that just keeps the habit alive even when the day or the week is not cooperating. Persistence beats perfection, hands down every time. Just do a bit of simple prep, portion out some meals, pre-log on Sunday night for at least the first 2 days of the week, then remove that decision-making power that you don't need to waste before the week actually starts, right? Because here's the reality. Every other habit that we've talked about in this video, the consistency, the tracking, the pre-logging, the movement, it all falls apart without this one habit of planning ahead. This is the habit that holds the system together. The guys who stay stuck at 20% or above are just reacting all the time to life circumstances. Yet the guys who get lean design their week before it even begins. And that's exactly what I help build with my private clients, not a generic program that they have to force into their life that wasn't written for them. It's a system built around their schedule, their stress levels, their goals, and with me holding them accountable to it every single week. If you've been at this for a while and you're already doing most things correctly and you're still stuck above that 20% mark, then that is not a willpower problem. That is a system problem. And if you're done trying to figure it out on your own, tap the link below the video, then go watch this video to see where you rank on the 5 levels of losing belly fat.